Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. So let's talk. So there's a theme that's going across the world right now that's not really being spoken about, and it's not being spoken about for good reason. And I want to address it this morning and point out a few things that I've noticed just in my little studies that I've been doing. And we can come together with the conclusion of today's message. Is that all right with everybody? All right, let's get started. So, January the 6th, we had an insurrection. That's what they call it, the January 6th insurrection, where American people went to the Capitol and tried to overturn the election results because they felt like they had been tampered with. And now we're having trials left and right for these people who were a part of this insurrection. There are other countries and places who are having upheavals because of election fraud, and the people have taken to the streets and they have done things to the government over this election fraud. And so I want to bring this to light because this is becoming a common narrative across the world, and nobody is really calling out this narrative. So let me just do my little justice on this narrative with the I have a few examples that I'm going to give everybody. So Haiti, we know recently in Haiti, President Jovenel Moise was assassinated. His wife was injured, and she was taken to an unknown location in Florida to be treated, and she survived. Thank God for that. And then they started to round up a lot of the people who were a part of this assassination, and a lot of them were based here in the United States in Florida in the Haitian community. And it was a coordinated effort to get rid of Moise. Why? Because President Jovenel Moise, when he took power, he did not set up a formal government in order for there to be a fair election whenever election time rolled around. And so he pretty much became a dictator in Haiti. And the people were not pleased with this. And there were other issues that was going on with Jovenel Moise, that he was accused of a lot of money embezzlement because there was a lot of money that was given to Haiti for the efforts of rebuilding after a huge tragedy took place. And Jovenel Moise took the money, and I guess he was misappropriating the funds, and the people were in an upheaval. And that's what caused, or this is what allegedly caused, the death of President Jovenel Moise. Now, in New Guinea, you have President Alpha Conde, who's been taken into captivity by the police there in New Guinea, and they accuse him of the same thing. Excuse me, y'all. So they're saying that President Conde has tried to set himself up for a third term in office, and that is not how their government runs. And the it was the army who took him over. The army captured him, and now they are running things, and the whole union, the UN, United Nations, is trying to negotiate with them in releasing President Conde. But why would you release President Conde if he's committed crimes? Who would you release him to? That's my question. Why would you let go of election fraud, someone who is being held accountable by the people? And why are other countries trying to get involved with that? They're trying to get involved with that because the power is going to the people. There's a phrase that goes, when the government fears the people, there's liberty. But when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. And this is what these other countries is trying to not to get us to not realize. They want to prevent us from realizing that when we come together and band together and we have power, the government will get in line and they will do what's best for the people. But whenever the people lie down and cover their heads and allow themselves to be brainwashed and follow everything the government says, then you are going to have a tyrant. And we just got rid of a tyrant because we kept our elections intact. But we can be right back in that same boat in a couple of years if we don't stand up and hold our elections firm and true against these people who would try to rig the election. That's basically what these governors in each state is trying to do. And it's not all governors, it's those governors who feel like there was some election fraud in the last election, and they're doing what they feel they should against election fraud. So let's see if that works out. But some of these governors are putting things in position that is going to cause voter suppression, and it's done on purpose for the simple fact that they want to control the vote and they want to control what party runs that state. And so these are the things that is causing an upheaval in the United States because we see what's going on. We are not that lulled to sleep to where the government can just do whatever they want. And they jumped the gun and thought that they had that much power, which they do over about, I'd say about 60%, 65% of the population. But the other 35% of the population is still saying, no, we're not going for that. No, we will fight against that. And people are stepping up and doing that. So is the insurrection on January the 6th as bad as people say? And I'm not saying in the terms of the people that were hurt and stuff like that. Nobody wants anybody to get hurt or killed. But what I'm saying is this is a show to our government that if the people feel like they're not getting their justice and they're being overtaken by a tyrant, then they're going to act. And this is what's needed and necessary worldwide. Because if not, you're going to end up with a President Alpha Conde. You're going to end up with the President Jovenel Moise. And now I want to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu because Israel has finally gotten rid of Benjamin Netanyahu, who was he was a war hog. That's basically what he loved to do: generate, start battles because money is in war. And I guess the people of Israel got tired of it and they ousted him. And so I salute them for that. And then you have Afghanistan. Right now, we have the Taliban who has taken over Afghanistan, and they claim to have taken the Panjshir Valley. So that would give them total control of Afghanistan. So if that be true, then we have the Taliban who has taken over control of Afghanistan because they are not in favor of the practices of the former president. So these are countries that are standing up against tyranny and they are fighting from the people's standpoint. And regardless of what you say about the Taliban was created by the people of Pakistan and Afghanistan and surrounding areas. It was a need because Russia had come in and they were seizing control in Afghanistan. And so, who is the terrorist now? Is it ISIS? Is it Al Qaeda? Is it the Taliban? Because just recently we were calling the Taliban terrorists, and we've always, well, not always, I'm not going to say always, but from the time of 9/11 all the way up until now, we have referred to the Taliban as terrorists. And that's simply because they would not allow us to have bin Laden, and they questioned us seriously on the evidence that we had against bin Laden for 9/11, and they said that the United States did not produce any. And so that's why they wouldn't give him over. But that's a whole nother story. So fast forward, the Taliban is now in power in Afghanistan. And so are they still being called terrorists? Is Afghanistan a terrorist country? Because this is what American media has alluded to, that now Afghanistan is going to be a home for terrorists, and that's going to be the terrorist headquarters. And a lot of us bought that line. But is it really going to be that? Or is it really just a great show of the people taking over a tyrant? This is what I want people to understand, because whenever people see justice at that level, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be heroic like we see in the movies, and everybody wants to romanticize what it means to have control in your country. And what these people are showing us is what it's going to look like in order to not have a tyrant over you. It's not going to be pretty. There's going to be a lot of resistance. There's going to be death. There's going to be anger. There's going to be all of that involved, but it's necessary. You can show me one time in history where it hasn't been necessary for the people to fight for their rights over someone who tried to dictate to them. You show me one period in our existence where that happens, and that's where you have slaves. So are we going to stay in a slave state because they've spent billions and trillions of dollars in advertising to keep us lulled to sleep, to keep us distracted with the shiny things so that they could do what they want to? And now that people are starting to turn away from those shiny things and turn off the TV, and they're starting to research, and they're starting to get into the real truth of the matter, now the government's at arms because they no longer have that sleeping people anymore. You've awakened a giant. And so the people out here who have been fighting all this time are now getting the backing of the people who were on the fence before. And this is causing the government to either get in line or get ready for a battle. And that's going to cause civil wars across the globe. And the United States has already started. And so I'm saying to the people, keep an eye on this narrative of tyranny versus liberty, because that's what it boils down to. Tyranny versus liberty. When the government fears the people, there's liberty. When the people fear the government, there's tyranny. This is your boy D Mac. You know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.